Now, the propellers play a very important part in our videos. If they're not balanced properly, you will get quite a bit of vibration in them, which causes jello. Now, a jello effect is like a little series of wavy lines that go across the video itself, and it's not very nice. It's rather unpleasant to watch. Now, the way to remove that is to use a little propeller balancer. So, of course, being rather a bit of a novice at this myself, I thought, oh well, I'll nick out and buy one. And the first one I bought is one of these, little magnetic one. Now you think, oh, magnetic, wonderful, you know, they're great. They just sit in there. It's balanced beautifully. Magnets, you know, it can't be wrong. Well, I hate to tell you, but these things aren't worth anything. They're a load of rubbish, actually. It does not balance the propellers at all. You have a little magnetic field in there, and unfortunately, when you sort of place a propeller on there and you think, oh yeah, this is going to work really, really well, what will happen is we pop on a little one like this, we put this back in and we tighten it all up, and you think, yep, this is looking pretty good, getting nice and tight so it's centered, and we pop it into our little balancer here and we think, oh yeah, look at that. Beautiful. We got one side out of balance, fairly obvious. It's, you know, it's well and truly heavy on one side. Now, you think, okay, that's easy enough, we can fix that. But the problem is, if you turn it on the side, you will notice that it actually pulls itself back into a magnetic flux. The metal rod that's actually in here is magnetized. And of course, north and south poles tend to sort of cause a bit of a problem, so that your perfectly balanced propeller in one of these little devices is actually magnetically incorrect. It's thrown out by the poles of the little bar in the centre. So in essence, they're basically useless. They're not worth anything. So what I finished up doing, I went out and bought myself one of these. Now, this is a Pro. Now, the Pro balancers are unbelievable. They are an amazing machine. I am so pleased with it. Now, you saw with this little propeller that I've got here, it was badly balanced. It's offside, something shocking. So we'll pop that out, get rid of this. I'll pop that back into there and throw it away, because that's basically what I'm going to do with it. This one is a little bit more complex. We have to pull that piece out there. We pop that down there, slide out that, whack that thing down there, pop our propeller back in over the top, stick this bit back over the top there so that we've got the two cones facing each other. Pop our little spring on it, pop our little washer over the end of the spring. It's getting very boring, I know, but this is it. And we get this little tiny rubber stopper which you slide down, and as you push it in position, it's now locked in place. Now, of course, considerably heavier on one side than the other. So what we do, I just grab a little sticky tape, just a little clear one, doesn't really matter what brand it is. Take a small section of it, snip it off, and put it on the lighter side. So we just very gently touch it. Now, make certain it's always on the side that is the leading edge. That's the one that cuts into the wind. So that way it doesn't blow off. Now, we can already see that just placing that little bit of tape, it's making a considerable difference. It's not so bad anymore. It's not as heavy as it was before. It's not balanced off to one side. It's sitting there pretty reasonable, and it's almost stopping basically in that spot. So we'll pop him across to there. Yep, that's not too bad actually. Give him a bit of a tap, and that is holding pretty good. So that would be actually pretty good length for it. So all I do is just simply fold it over, stick it on, and that is nicely balanced in that little position there. So as we turn him around like that, it should stop pretty well anywhere. Now, playing around a bit, I've got all these other propellers. They're already been balanced. They've got a little bit of tape on them. Now, the next problem you have is, even though you think you've got the propellers perfectly balanced, and you think, oh yeah, that looks all right, the hub, which is the centre bit, this little tiny thing in here, can be also out of balance. And how do you know it is? Well, when you put it vertical, as you can see, it doesn't stay there. It swings back to the horizontal. So that tells you that the bottom part, this little bit down here is heavier than the top. So how do we fix that? Well, I've watched quite a few people doing different sort of things. Well, I've found that what works for me is just a simple little bit of glue. You just simply get the top off the glue. Obviously choose the lighter side and just simply tap a bit of glue on, plonking back in position for a second. And give them a bit of a tap. And as you can see, it's still not quite right, so the hub is still out of balance, so we need a little bit more glue in the middle here, just a touch. Now, as you can see, we have it dropping to the centre. The perfectly balanced propeller should basically stop at any position when it rotates. And as you can see here, it's going nicely and sitting vertical. Give them a bit of a nudge again, and it stops pretty close. So that is almost a perfectly balanced propeller. Quite simple to do, quite easy. And the fun part is, what we'll do, I will grab this other dodgy, whatever you want to call him, El Cheapo thing that's not worth a pinch of, put your own words in. We will take the exact same propeller and we're going to use this little device again, and we will see how good this thing is compared to the Dupro. Now, I'm amazed at how good this thing is. You have to obviously set them up originally, but that's neither here nor there. I'll just disassemble this thing relatively quickly, just for the video for you, just so you can see it. Get all that off, down she goes, popping this back in. Now at this point, of course, the glue hasn't dried, it's still quite wet, but that's not a problem at this point. And in she, oh, there she goes off the edge. That'll be my luck. Okay, onto the carpet. And there we go. Now we're sitting nicely in there. Now, we've already balanced this, so we know that this should be perfectly balanced. Well, surprise, surprise, it's not. You can see we have one side heavy. Now, we can do anything we want with it. And you'll notice it balanced. Is it? No, it's definitely not balanced. You can see that by plonking it down here, we've got heavy on one side, then it pops over to the other. Now we know this is already balanced, so how can it be that we tap it and we got this? This is the magnetic fields that I was referring to earlier. So you think you've got a perfectly balanced propeller, but it's not. This silly little device here, the magnetic fields come into play, popping the propeller over to one side. You think you have balanced it perfectly using this device. When you take it out, pop this same propeller back in again, and surprise, surprise, it loses balance again. So in actual fact, these things, they're decorative, and that's about all. They look nice, but basically throw them in the bin. They're absolute rubbish. Not worth the money.